Not do that. I'm going to tell a story about becoming friends with people you don't really know and never see again. So this is another first date story. So I am older than Mike, and at one point I felt like, man, I was getting really old. I need to settle down and find a man. So I was out at Green Street. This was a long time ago when they had salsa night, I don't know, whatever. So I went and I met this man, and he was awesome, and I talked about myself a lot, and I thought he was really listening, and he heard me, and I was like, wow, we're connecting. And so we're going to go on a date. And so he told me all about himself, I told him about myself, and so I was a vegetarian at the time, and he invited me out to dinner, and so we went, and we were going to go out to some place in Sullivan Square, a very exclusive establishment. It's called the 99 restaurant. So you might know it, yeah? And so it's right over that bridge when you get off the community college stop. And so we went there, and everything was steak on the menu. And so I was like, wow, this is really great. And so he's like not listening to me at all about why I can't eat. And he's really frustrated with me. And I'm like, this man of my dreams, I'm really trying to lock it down, and he doesn't listen. And so finally I decided, I asked the server, if there was any food that a vegetarian could eat, and she offered fried potatoes and salads, and it was iceberg lettuce salads. And I know. So I devised this plan, and I asked the server, I said, is there any way to leave here besides the exit? And she said, yeah. And so it turns out she leaves sometimes too without telling people. So I was really curious. So she happened to know that, and so she showed me this place. And so I said, well, I don't want to be suspicious about it. If I leave my bag and stuff here, can I come back and get it like tomorrow? And she said yes. She was hooking me up. And so she showed me, it was on the first floor, so she showed me how to leave from the bathroom window. And she held my bag. I know. And so I'm like, wow, I'm really trusting this woman, because at this point I have almost, as you remember from the massage story, almost no assets or income. But everything I have is in that wallet. So I'm like, I'm going to leave it there, and she's totally going to hook it up. And she did. And so I sneak out the window, and I run down the street. And I ran all the way home, because at the time I was living in Somerville, so it wasn't really too far. And then the next day I went back, and she still had my wallet. She was like, oh, you made it home okay? I was like, yeah. And so the guy, this romantic connection who was going to be like my man, because I was like, oh, I'm going to marry a guy who's awesome, and he was like a Nigerian prince or something. I know. I mean, you can't do better, though. That might have been a story. So he keeps calling me the next day, and then finally he's like, oh, I hope you're okay. He didn't know what happened to me. He wasn't even that worried about it, actually. He was just like, hey, you never came back for dinner. It's true, I didn't. And there were cell phones in those days, so I don't know what he thought. And so he didn't take my stuff home, which was another concerning thing. So he didn't listen well, and he didn't care about my property. And so he kept calling, and he maybe called about 4 times, in one day, and he was like, hey, what's going on? But 2 days later, not even the day after, or the day of. He didn't call the day of. And he wondered what had happened to me, and I never returned the call. And so the last message was, oh, you must be out of town. I wasn't, but I haven't seen him since. So that waitress and I think we had a better connection than my Nigerian prince, which was too bad. But anyway, so that's my story.
Hi.